What is good, y'all? We are here today watching Chapter 3 of SSF2 Flash 3. I don't know what that means because I haven't watched it yet. But without further ado, hopefully my transition goes well. And the answer is no, it won't. But we're going to watch this nonetheless.
2017, perhaps the most famous year in Super Smash Bros. 2
Also, I'm
history,
eating food
for good and bad
episode,
reasons.
so.
As far as years go, 2014 was the rise of Kios, 2015 the era of Lunary, and 2016 had just wrapped up as the year of 20XX with all these new school Fox players. So naturally, what kind of year was 2017? Oh boy. 2017 was the craziest year in Super Smash Bros. 2 history. For starters, going into 2017, Gax was still the best player in the world. However, Gax, Kios, and many of these other top-level players would actually take a break from the game at the end of 2016.
Sheesh.
And while there were still some tournaments, they were far less frequent and smaller in attendance. And the reason all of these players took a break from the game at the same time was for one reason.
We always had this idea in the back of our head that 1.0 would be the full game. And so it just became larger and larger and larger over time.
We were expecting beta for, God, like 2 years at this point.
Dude, beta was probably the most anticipating thing that you have ever seen.
Every year we had been going to these tournaments and doing reveals at the tournaments, and the longer that beta was taking to come out, the more things we'd have to reveal. So we were like scope creeping.
It was like 9B players in general, we're just always looking forward to beta. Like, hype for beta was already at an all-time high because of that.
You know, it was a lot of pressure. And, you know, the community got very impatient. There were a lot of leaks. So to have that hard work revealed before we wanted it to be, it was just devastating, honestly. Like, I remember almost crying that day.
I wonder, like, from a business perspective, how do leaks affect certain kinds of games and stuff like that? Like, of course, this game wasn't a game that was like heavily money making, because this game, like, it did have ads on the website and stuff like that, but this wasn't a game that you buy or that was pay to win or nothing like that. So this game didn't make that much money, realistically speaking, off of the game itself. Like, it was more, it made money on things around the game, like, for example, the website, the YouTube channel, ads on that, stuff like that. So my question really is, I want to know, like, how does leaks affect how much money a game can or can't make?
We just were like, that's it. We got to release it. That's the only way to make this stop.
This is beta. It's out. It's public for you guys. You guys can play it.
And beta was a very drastic reimagining of the Smash Flash formula.
SSF2 beta was like, it's SSF3 without saying that it's SSF3.
Thank you guys so much for making this cloud gaming.
The big update, like, everybody's been waiting for, like, it's pretty crazy.
New people coming in every week, and just overall everything's changed, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. Like,
Super Smash Bros. 2 Beta, the largest content update the game would ever receive. The surprise drop in May of 2017, while not in 100% polished state, would change the community forever. Beta was a game changer. Literally, it changed the game fundamentally. New characters, a complete overhaul of mechanics, and more content jammed into one fan game than ever seen before. And just like when 9B released, it wasn't just the game that changed. This changed everything for competitive Smash Flash. The game's community exploded with new players.
Like, his
Tons
voice,
of new Discord servers started popping up.
During this part, his voice really the game's community better. Like, throughout the documentary, like, in the first part and the second part, some of the second part, his voice, I mean, during the intro and the second part, his voice wasn't all that, but during this part 2 and, like, coming into 3, his voice is getting way better. When does part 3 end? Like, around 50 minutes?
Community exploded with new players. Tons of new Discord servers started popping up, plenty of new tournament series with entrant counts nearing the triple digits, and more players playing the game online than ever before. The beta was a breath of fresh air. The community...
I remember when you would go online on SSF2 and it'd be like 2-3 names. Like, yo, this game has really came a long way.
The community was now more alive than ever. As one could imagine, the game played significantly different than 9B. The jump between the two was comparable to, say, Smash 4 and Ultimate. with some similarities but also major differences. And while the game was certainly not perfect on launch, with plenty of bugs on release, it was still a competitive experience that drew in players from all over the FGC. One such player was RiverDB, a Dutch Smash 4 player who joined SSF2 after hearing about the launch of beta, but more on him later. With all these new players and a brand new scene, 2017 was the year of beta. Specifically though, in the context of the competitive scene, the year of beta was considered by many the jankiest time in the game's history.
Word.
After all, beta was surprise dropped mid-year in 2017, so for the first half of the year, all these 9B results were basically nullified with its release. And while some of these 9B players could make the transition into beta successfully, such as Gax and Kios, other players would struggle to get the same results they had in 9B. The competitive scene was completely different. All except one thing. Gax. The 9B veteran would almost immediately
nigga said plot
bounce back to the top.
Gax was the player that could transfer his skills over to beta. Not very many other players could do that.
In fact, Gax would win all 3 of his first major tournaments in beta.
Smash Island beta.
His lifespan. Universe Classic 3. Bowlers 1.
Wow, that up B actually gonna get him.
And Smash Island Beta 1.
Back here, up here.
Jesus, that lag.
Up smash.
Bro is streaming.
Even after taking a break while waiting for beta to release, he was able to immediately jump back into competition and become the best player. And not shockingly, Fox rose dramatically in community-made tier lists.
I don't know how Meta Knight is only A+. Goku ass. That's I don't care. That's wrong, bro. I don't care, bro. That's got to be wrong.
With beta's release, placing himself as second best in the game. When it came to Gax and Fox, the character and player were so intertwined that they were simultaneously being the best at their respective ranks. So one has to wonder, is this year of 2017
they nerfed a nigga that sucked repeatedly.
Just another year of Gax? Well, not quite. While Gax was the best, early beta was still competitive. In specific, we saw the rise of 2 other players that could rival Gax.
Oh yeah, this is when they started beating Marth into the ground when they resprited him.
First was again RiverDB.
Which is true. I see what they mean when they say it was kind of hard to transfer over your skills. Because if you understand how much they changed a lot of characters, like for example, Marth, Sheik, because they went from her chain link side B from melee that could nullify projectiles to her bouncing fish that gave her more mobility and offstage kill move. It's like, yo, they changed a lot of characters, some for the better, some for the worse. For the better, I'll say characters like Sheik. For the worse, I'll say characters like Marth or like Fox. But like a lot of characters were dramatically changed to the point to where it's like it's the same character and the same moves. It's just the moves work so differently. It's like, yo, what the yo, how do I play this character now?
This new Dutch Isaac player, who was one of the only players who could defeat Gax in tournament, which was especially impressive because he hadn't even played 9B competitively. As for the other player that rose around this period, his tag was Flavian. And let's just say, quote-unquote Flavian was not your average SSF2 competitor.
He broke the game?
In 2017, we saw the rise of another Fox player, Flavian. Flavian was notorious throughout the community, because you see, quote-unquote Flavian was actually a secret alt account for an old-school 9B player, Monty. This Monty was a fairly controversial figure, but why was he playing under a secret account? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and lots of controversial opinions. Well, there's a lot of reasons, and lots.
Aren't you the psychopath that faked his? Whoa, what?
Lots of controversial opinions.
Whoa. That's crazy. Faking your death is crazy. Wow.
Members. But there is one reason at the end of the day. Well, he was banned. Permanently. Twice. Yep, what? Monty was permanently banned from the game twice. Quite the feat. And while he was permanently banned from the community, he was secretly playing as a top 3 competitor. In fact, Flavian was just the newest in a long line of alt accounts he'd been using for years, swapping to a new one whenever one was discovered. In total, he'd been sourced to well over 20 different players in the game's competitive history, with dozens of other unconfirmed accounts.
Andro, Rags, Frozen Cryo, Silver Soul, Gax Packs. He was smoking on that Gax. Golly.
Anyone and everyone could be a Monty ult. Much like a comic book supervillain, no matter how many times he was kicked or banned, a few months later, he would return. My personal favorite of these Monty alt accounts is Etnom, which is just simply Monty spelled backwards. Now, you might be wondering, why was he doing this in the first place? What got him banned? While there are a variety of reasons for his ban, one of the biggest ones is being involved in a major leak of beta files.
I basically had thought that the permanent ban was some bullshit.
The first time that I was introduced to the idea or person that Monty was, the whole Monty side thing.
Or just creating a whole like Japanese SSF2 community based on his alts.
It turns out the whole thing was fake.
It kind of, became a cycle where every single time I kind of wanted a fresh start, get banned, make a new account, fresh start, all that.
In fact, the Monty lore in the community runs pretty deep.
This nigga's still here during Frame Perfect.
With many good things for the community in recent years, but plenty of controversies from back when he was a teenager in 9B. And there were so many Monty moments throughout the game's history that I couldn't even possibly begin to go into them here. So, to summarize, Monty was a permanently banned player due to controversial actions when he was younger, and now in beta under a new account was a top 3 player.
I could at the very least have a chance to compete, because that's what I wanted to do at the end of the day.
Flavian started turning his reputation around.
I guess he has a lot of controversy, but he also has done a lot of stuff for the community, and he's just always trying to look to improve the scene.
In modern day SSF2, the majority of the community has forgiven his past actions, and his permanent ban is lifted.
Hell no. You can't come back from faking your own suicide, because that's crazy. There's really people who struggling out here, actually killing themselves, and you out here faking. Nah, bruh. Reban that nigga. Boy, hell nah. You couldn't do no shit like that around me. What? You never coming back in the community. Ever. Under any circumstance.
However, at the time, with having this triangle of players, with the best 9B Fox, Gax, a new Isaac player from Smash 4, River, and the mysterious mastermind that was Monty, it was a very wild time. All 3 of these players were winning major tournaments throughout 2017. Unfortunately, though, things were going to take a turn for the worse.
Meaning?
The whole community was expecting one of these 3 players to rise above the other 2 and become the best of the year. So, who do you think did it?
Crazy.
Well, sadly, the answer is none of them. During the peak of this 3-way rivalry, Gax would make a surprise announcement. Much like Lunary did back in 2015, Gax was going to retire from the game, instead to focus on his upcoming studies in college. But unlike Lunary, Gax would actually lose some of his final major tournaments to Kios, who now plays Pac-Man, and in his final tournament, he lost to Monty. So while he did retire as the technical rank number 1, it was disputed by others. This hurt the community, but technical rank
was
and in his final tournament, he lost to Monty. So while he did retire as the technical rank number 1, it was disputed by others. This hurt the community, but what hurt more was what followed. After Gax left, Monty would also take a break from the game. Not a full-on retirement, but he entered way less frequently ever since Gax's departure. And as for River, you guessed it, he would also take a break from the game, only entering a few tournaments in the future when updates came out, instead to focus on his career in Smash 4 and eventually in Ultimate.
Yeah, because that's a more popular game.
And also, unfortunately, in June of 2020, we would receive word that River had passed away only in his early 20s. And that day, the Super Smash Bros.
Wait, was River the person they were just talking about? Because I'm having a memory lapse right now.
Community and Smash as a whole lost one of the most wholesome and beloved legends of the game.
Ain't nothing in his bowl. Is that a real thing in the game, or is that just this?
So, fall 2017 was a pretty sad time. Many of the greats, potential players to be crowned the best of the year, all dropped the game at once. And with the #1 spot unclaimed for the first time since 2014, we would see a lot of new players strive for the spot. In fact, in 2017, we saw over 20 different players win FCR tournaments, the most of any year by far. With Gax's departure, the game was thrown back into chaos. There was, though, one last opportunity. Bowlers 2. In December of 2017, Bowlers 2 was the first ever tournament to reach over 100 entrants, and one of the few tournaments to have a cash prize for the winner. This drew in players from all over the scene, and for
that's sad, but not in a "oh you're broke" sad type of way. It's more sad in a way it's like, damn, there's people playing League of Legends grassroots tournaments getting 100K with like 10 niggas in it, and like we got tournaments with 200 people in it. That's like, yo, I'm not gonna go into it, but yo, it's crazy.
Some of them, it was a chance to make their case for the best in the world. At least they would have had a chance if it wasn't for Kios.
SF2 on top of that.
Beta was no stranger to game-breaking bugs. Most of them were banned in tournaments.
What the?
Beta was no stranger to game-breaking.
How do you dodge that?
Bugs. Most of them were banned in tournaments,
I bet you if you don't do
others
anything,
were patched
it'll
out of the
break
game.
your shit.
But sometimes, when a player discovers a glitch, they keep it secret, hidden away, just for the right moment.
What happened? How did you do this?
What is that? Oh my god.
The key glitch. This was Kios' secret weapon, bringing it out for the first time on the big stage.
Kios had just lost to someone, or like something happened, and then he like privately messaged me. He was like, "Yo, I found this crazy glitch." I was like, "What now?"
I'm just gonna abandon all logic here and
This man has the key inside of his Pac-Man.
That's so broken. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, that is
can't
not
even-
okay.
you
Like,
can't
The
recover
key glitch
against
was
that at
simple
all.
yet so complex. By fully charging up Pac-Man's neutral special, you could attain the key, the strongest Pac-Man projectile. Then, by performing a precise setup using the trampoline, you could physically attach the key as an active hitbox onto your body. This was game-breaking.
It was unfair.
He was essentially a walking hitbox. If you hit Pac-Man, you get hit. If you ran into him, you get hit. And best of all, it turned your hydrant into a cannonball you could launch at will. Quite frankly, it was broken. And unsurprisingly, this is probably the most controversial event in the game's history. And with Kios being a divisive player at this time, pulling this out at Bowlers 2 got him a lot of flack from the community.
I don't like Kios.
I see what they mean now. He's willing to abuse the system just to win. He's not true that, but he's not true that. He's hungry box. He does what he has to do, but he's not an asshole about it. From what I'm seeing in this documentary.
Kios is like, I don't respect that man at all.
He has to be the most carried beta player I've ever seen in my entire life, bro. He was making up glitches with Pac-Man like every single day, bro. Like,
and using the glitch, Kios was able to easily push his way through the bracket, all the way to grand finals.
That boy saw he had to fight Kyle's, and he just disqualified himself. He's like, yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm gonna go do my homework.
And since Kios was already a top-ranked player in beta, if he could get a win here at Bowlers 2, he could become the best player in the world. All that stood in his way was the 4th seed of the tournament, a Donkey Kong player named Nos.
I think this is the current top player, if I'm not mistaken. The Donkey Kong dude I was talking about earlier. He was just cooking shit with Donkey Kong for no reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It makes sure you love Pac-Man. What can I do? He just faces that wall so perfectly.
Sheesh. I don't think there's anything you really could have done. Because if you jumped, you would have still got hit.
And yet DK won. Practically carried the tournament.
Did you just...
What the? NBA Live 92?
He just yeeted you, boy, up here. Oh, no, forward there.
And Nose win.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's that. That's that.
Nosh has been playing DK for so... Nosh has been playing DK since...
Somehow,
play
some
DK,
way,
so
even with
I
the
just
key
know.
glitch, Kios lost Bowlers 2.
Just to lose to Nas.
you have an active hitbox on you the whole time. Tell me how he didn't even win the tournament.
After this win, Nos became a legend in the community. He was already a well-known player, but stopping Kios from taking Bowlers 2 was perhaps one of the most iconic moments in the game's history. After the tournament, the key glitch was banned from
Died when they hit the ground. When Z dropped, they now bounce. Galaxians died when they hit the ground. Z dropped, they now bounce. Galaxians correctly fly. All items cease being stunned and hit lag when picked up. Fixes key jacket. GG's. That boy probably stopped playing the game again.
future events and eventually patched out by the developers. And now, with Bowlers 2 over and 2017 wrapping up, the question of who was the best was left unanswered for the first time in the game's history. After 2017 had wrapped up, the competitive scene was in a weird place.
Hey, fuck it. You just gonna fuck up my transition and everything, right? Anyway, with that being said, like I said, I'm gonna run through my usual, quotes. Make sure you go to my social medias, specifically my my Twitch, which I'm streaming this live on right now. Make sure you go drop a follow so whenever I go live, you know what I'm doing. Make sure you go to my Discord, all those places, so whenever I have an idea like this, I alert y'all first of what I'm about to do. With that being said, make sure you click all them links down below. And peace out, y'all. Don't forget to eat the booty like a bunny. Okay, bye. Hey.